False choosing signals. Very easy for very attractive women, and I say very attractive women, not just decently attractive women, very attractive women, to send out false choosing signals. What is a choosing signal? A choosing signal is when basically an IOI, kind of IOI. There's a difference, but they're similar. An IOI is an indicator of interest. So basically, if she looks at you a certain way, she gives you the doe eyes, the fawn eyes. If she smiles at you or she talks to you or something like that, right? Women believe that's all that's needed in order to get a man's attention, because it's really true, actually. All they really need to do is do one little subtle thing, whether it's make eye contact with a guy, just look at him just a certain way, or look at him for a certain amount of time, or certain kind of indicators of interest. That's all she needs to do to get a guy's attention. He'll think, oh, it's just immediate. It's like a lion in the wild searching for weakness in the zebra pack or the antelope pack, whatever, right? Because that's what they do. Lions go out and they hunt in packs, whatever, and they are looking for weakness in the ranks of their prey, right? And the weakness is just a little something. They just can sense it. Maybe this one's sick. Maybe this one has a wobble on his leg. Maybe this one is obviously getting old. And they're like, yeah, we're going to take down that one because that one is weak. It's natural selection, right? It's there's a word for it. There's a word for it to describe in the wild. I always forget this, but it's shoot, I'm sorry. Let's see. Natural selection. It's not natural selection. Signals. It's signals. Sorry. Signaling theory. That's what it's called. It's called signaling theory. Signaling theory was actually one of the best things that helped me when I first started doing cold approach gaming. This guy just randomly shared it with me, and I was just like, whoa, that just makes super sense. Signaling theory is when, it can be applied to different scenarios. Like I just used the example of lions hunting antelope in the wild. Signaling theory is when you get a signal and an indication of something from something in your environment, from a person or whatever, right? So signaling theory in the sense of a pack of lions hunting a pack of antelope or whatever, looking for weakness. A signal would be, oh, this one's got a little bit of a limp. This one has, a little bit of aging. This one has a disease. He's sick or whatever. So they can pick up on that. So signaling theory, when a guy is out, whatever, gaming or even just out in public or whatever, signaling theory is just a little bit of a look, or just a little bit of, maybe she flips her hair is usually the most common one when you're walking, particularly with like tall guys. I'm a tall guy. I get that a lot. I'm not like incredibly good looking, and I know that, but I'm tall, and women respond to tallness. So when I'm out and they recognize that I'm tall, it's just, they just look me up and down, and a lot of times they look at my shoes for some reason. Girls like that. I don't know. So I guess I stepped up my shoe game. I get it, but so I stepped up my shoe game at some point, and girls look at my shoes. They look me up and down. Look how I'm dressed. I'm tall. My clothes fit. My hair is decent, and they do this little hair flip, and it's a kind of a subconscious thing, and it indicates that they're kind of interested. It's an IOI. So at that point I can go approach, or at that point I can, spit some game at them, whatever. But that's called signaling theory. And they'll do like a little signal. They might turn their hair. They might look away in a certain way, like, oh, they might act flustered, right? Now, with that said, very attractive women, usually it's very attractive women, because what I've found in my experience is that the less attractive a woman is, the less actually she wants to be approached. Because the reason why is because guys in general are more scared to approach the very attractive women. If she's above an 8 or a 9, guys get too scared to approach her, right? And it's understandable why. This isn't, wacky or wrong, because it's very difficult to talk to girls. It's very scary. It's very intimidating. It's similar to like making a speech in front of your whole school or something. It's that scary. This is why the guys who learn how to do it, it's a great skill, and it can open doors for you even if you're a less attractive guy, because it takes a lot of courage. And guys who get used to it, guys who do it so much that they're numb to it, it's better for them because they have learned how to pass that barrier. Okay, they've learned how to pass that fear barrier, and most guys just don't ever get to that point. Most guys, I'd say 95% of guys, something like that, maybe even higher, do not cold approach. They don't approach in real life. If they're out at the bar, maybe if they get drunk enough, they might have the courage to go talk to some girl who's already drunk herself, and it's just a mess, right? It's a skill that not everybody will ever have. I would recommend it, but it's not for everyone, because you just got to have thick skin. I used to do door-to-door sales when I was younger. I've been very nervous doing things like that, but you get accustomed to it over time. And doing cold approach pickup was one of the scariest things that I've ever done in my life. But after doing it 40, 50 times, you just get more accustomed to it. And I would say after the 100th time, you probably are kind of used to it. After the 200th, 300th time, you're getting pretty good at it. So it's just like anything else in life. Practice makes perfect. Repetition creates success. But most guys, they just won't approach, right? So why do women do this? Why do women, throw out a false choosing signal, right? Why do women pretend like they're interested and really aren't interested? Well, the answer is pretty simple. And again, like I said, the women who are below a 7 or a 6, they don't like it when guys approach them or look at them because they're less attractive. It's ironic that the more attractive a woman is, the more she's open to guys approaching her, because it's not as common. The guys who approach the guys who have the courage to approach the 6s and below, there's a lot more guys who have the courage to do that, because she's not as attractive. So the guy's like, I don't have anything to lose. She's not that hot anyway. That's how most guys think, right? So she becomes upset because she's like, damn it, man, why do all these losers approach me? And she's mad because she wants a higher value guy to approach her, but the higher value guys don't approach her because she's not above an 8 or a 9. She's not above a 7 even. So all she gets is the drags. It's just kind of funny, I don't really care. I'm not feeling sorry for these girls, but so why do women do this? Why do women throw out false choosing signals, right? Now that I've explained what a choosing signal is, what signaling theory is, how men approach, why men approach, things like that, I've dipped into that a little bit. Why do women, and it's usually the hotter women, because like I said, the ones below a 7 or a 6, they don't really want that type of attention. They get annoyed by that type of attention. Gosh, I'm tired of these guys hitting on me, because they know they're not that attractive, and they don't want the average Joe. All women, whether they're a 4 or a 10, want the highest value man. They don't want the average Joe to approach them. They hate it. Except, actually, I shouldn't say that. I take that back. From a 4 to a 7, they don't want the average Joe. They want the higher. Now, all women want the higher guy. But when you get to a woman who's a 7, 8, 9, 10, the ego comes into play. It's not to say that women who are below a 6 or 5 don't have the ego, but it's just more annoying for them, because they know that the type of attention they're getting is not the same type of attention that a 7, 8, or 9 is getting. The 7, 8, or 9 is getting like the pure attention, like, oh gosh, I want to do anything for you. The 4, 5, and 6, she's getting the I just want to fuck you attention, like, and guys don't even care about how they approach it. They just throw some bullshit out. Hey, you want to go over here? So it's just some bullshit. But a 7, 8, 9, and 10, the guy's like, oh, you're so beautiful, woo. So it's a different type of attention. All women have an ego and they want attention, but it's a different type of attention, and it makes sense why it's a different type of attention. Because why would they waste their I want to love you attention on the girl that they don't want to love? They just want to fuck. Now, if she's a 7, 8, 9, 10, for some reason our stupid brain is like, oh, I want to love you, I want to put you on a pedestal, right? But most guys are scared to approach 7, 8, 9, or 10. So why does the woman who's a 7, 8, 9, or a 10, why does she give out false choosing signals? Because she actually wants that attention. She wants to catch that attention. She wants to garnish that I would say worship in a sort of idolatrous way, right? people used to worship idols, like, oh, this idol's so amazing. And it's like, women want that. Okay, they want that kind of worship, but the girls who are 4, 5, 6, they don't get that type of worship. They get the, yeah, let's go over here and fuck type of attention. But the girls 7, 8, 9, and 10, they're, oh yeah, I worship you. And this is why, if that ever happens, a lot of times there's a girl who's a 4, 5, and 6, and she doesn't get that type of attention until she has some guy who really just falls for her. And then once she gets that type of attention, then she feels validated. She feels like her whole life is validated. Like, oh, I'm a 10 because this guy fawned over me. And like, it's almost like a drug for them, right? So, which is why I would advise red pill men, do not give them that type of attention. And I would advise men in general, do not give them that type of attention. Do not worship it. And it takes some practice, because I would say even takes cold approach, because when you're younger and you don't talk to a girl, it's like there's this weird gap, and you look at her like, oh, she's this mythical creature that I could never approach. Once you start approaching women, that wall gets kind of torn down, and you sort of look at them, you make eye contact with them all of a sudden, you start talking normal around them. You're not like, ooh, because guys have so many tells, they give it away. We get so nervous when we talk to really hot girls, like, oh yeah, it's just they can hear it in our voice, slight inflections in our voice, the way our eyes look. We can't keep eye contact with them. We fidget and fiddle. We're nervous. The list goes on, right? And they can tell. Women pick up on body language very easily. Women are very in tune to that type of thing. They can tell. They can tell if you really are into them or not, which is why if you're out in the wild, right, if you're out in public and you come across a hot girl, it's best to not give away that tell. Yeah, she's hot. You feel a certain type of way. Oh, this is a hot girl here. But you give away that power, and men in general give away power when they do that. They don't realize it. Oh, she's so hot. Like, they are in their body language subconsciously putting her on a pedestal, right? So why do women send out false choosing signals? Why do women, look at you and like, oh, maybe there's a teeny bit of interest, but what it really is, obviously she would do that for like a real creepy guy or a stalker type guy. She'd just be like, oh, get away from me. But so she thinks you're somewhat normal. She thinks you're somewhat maybe attractive. She thinks you're somewhat valuable. So at least she values your attention, but she doesn't have any intent to hook up with you. She doesn't have any intent to get your number. She doesn't have any intent to sleep with you or be your girlfriend. She just wants the attention, right? I said before, I should have said attention. She at least she values your attention, right? So she values your attention, and her intent is not, but her intent is not to sleep with you. Her intent is not to be your girlfriend. Her intent really is just to get your validation, get your worship. And this is the same reason why women put men in the friend zone, men who are not a 10 out of 10, or men who are just not that attractive, whatever. Why she'll put those guys in the friend zone. But unfortunately, those guys are mostly relegated to the friend zone, or just less. They're relegated to less attractive women. Now, can a guy who's like a 5 or a 4 or whatever, can he get a 10 out of 10 if he's really confident and he's funny and he's smooth? Absolutely. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. Usually what women who are above a 7, they're 7, 8, and 9s, what they want is they want the good looking guy who is funny and who does have a good personality and who does have status and who does have money. That's what they want. Those are the top 4 things: looks, money, status, personality, humor, right? These are all very positive things that women want. But if your game is right, you can still pull a 10. It's just not common. It's a lot less viable if you're a 4 or a 5 and you have good game and you are funny and you've got a great personality and you make her laugh and you just say the right things at the right time. Because that's really all dating and game is about, is really just saying the right things at the right time. That's all it is which is why it's kind of phony, which is why the whole mating process is really silly, because it's just, you just got to say the right things at the right time. You got to portray yourself a certain way. You need frame control, and you need to present yourself a certain way. That's all. You just need to present yourself in a masculine way that you have replication and survival qualities, right? That there's something about you that's confident, secure in yourself. All these things are important, right? So if you're a 4 or 5 or 6 guy in looks, you can still pull that 10. You just got to have your game, all those other aspects down tight. But it's less common, and it's probably less, common for you to keep her for a very long time, because hypergamy kicks in. And that's it. You're done. Because there's always going to be someone hotter. There's always going to be someone with more money. There's always going to be someone cooler with funnier jokes and better person. Always. That's just how life is. There's always somebody better than you in some way, and you just have to learn how to love yourself. You have to learn how to be secure in yourself, in order to, just love yourself. But with that said, women will, and in a way, when women send out false choosing signals, in a way, it's sort of it's actually validating the guy, because again, like I said, if the guy's really creepy, if he's really weirdo, and he's got like a stalker vibe, or he's just really not attractive, like, she's not going to throw out those false choosing signals. She's not even going to throw out the false choosing. So the fact that she threw out the false choosing signal in the first place is indicative that at least you're good enough for her to want you to worship her. At least you're good enough. And I'm talking about real life too. A false choosing signal online or in social media really doesn't happen. That, I mean, it's just she might say something. She might, early on, if you like, oh, okay, I've friended you, or I started following you on Twitter, and she needs a lot of guys validating her constantly on every post. If she needs that, what she'll do at the very, very early on, when you make a compliment like, oh, you're so beautiful, which, by the way, never do that. Ever. Never do that. Don't simp on her comments. Never do that. But if she needs your validation, she'll throw out a false choosing signal like, oh, thank you, you're cute yourself, or some little bullshit like that. And she'll never talk to you again. She'll just do that one time, so she feels like it's, you will be invested in all the rest of her pictures, so she can have that constant validation. All she's doing is categorizing you. You're just a number to her. All she wants is your likes, your hearts, and your little simp comments. That's all she wants, because she wants worship. This is what women want. A lot of women want worship. They want to be pedestalized. Oh, I'm so beautiful. I'm so powerful. I'm a diva. I'm like Tyra Banks. I'm like Beyonce. I'm like Taylor Swift. All these men. I'm like Kesha and Britney Spears, and all these men chase after me, and they pedestalize me. And oh, I just want that attention. She's just thirsting for that attention. This is why women throw out false choosing signals. How do you know this is true? How can you differentiate and validate what I just said? Because what happens when you really go after it? She gives you the googly eyes. She gives you the bedroom eyes. She smiles at you. Whatever. What happens when you go after it? You say you develop your game, and you get to a point where you got decent game. What happens when you spit some game at her and your game's fine? Nothing wrong with your game. She just flakes. She ghosts on you. Maybe you even get her number, and she just flakes. She talks to you maybe once or twice, or she sends maybe one or two texts, and then it's over, and she flakes on you. What happens? That's what happens. So it's like, that's how you know, it's a false choosing signal. And this has happened to me many times, and it's like, okay, at a certain point you realize it's not about her. She was never really that attracted to me, and she knew I was whatever, and she just wants the attention. She just wants that validation. And some women actually even take pleasure in the fact that they know men are hurt over them ghosting us, and it's this cruel thing. And it's more feminine. It's more female than men. Men do that, but men are less inclined to play with people's emotions like that. So again, just to recap, why do women send out false choosing signals? Because they want the attention. That's all. And what is a false choosing signal? A false choosing signal is when she throws out an indicator of interest. She throws out a signal that she's interested in you, and interested in you pursuing her, and you choosing her, whatever. Or she's pretending to choose you so that you can give her attention. Very simple, right? Very, very simple. And why do they do it? It's for their ego. It's so they can feel validated. It's almost like collecting souls. If you've ever heard a woman say, I collect men's souls, that's what she's talking about. And it's very toxic. And not women really admit that, but a lot of women really do have that intent. When you validate them and you show that you really want them, and you lose your frame, right? Your frame might have been what got your foot in the door. You had this masculine frame. You were kind of stoic, whatever, and you didn't pay attention to her, whatever, and you didn't subconsciously through your body language validate her. Then she might chase, and she might be like, oh, I want that validation. He's not giving me that validation. I want to throw out an IOI. I'm gonna look at him this way, or I'm gonna smile at him this way. And the reason why is because once she gets that validation, he validated me. no longer attracted to him, or I wouldn't even say attracted, no longer interested in getting his attention, really, because women know within 3 seconds whether they want to have sex with you or not. But with that said, you can create attraction as you go along if you have the right type of personality. So even though she might throw out a false choosing signal, if you play your cards right and you have good game and you don't lose your frame, you don't lose your masculine frame, you don't lose that frame where like, yeah, I could take you or leave you, it's possible that you could get with her. It's just a lot harder if you're not objectively a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 guy. And I would even say 8, 9 or 10, not even a 7. 7 guys get even friend zoned and cut. But again, we are talking about the more attractive women, right? And with that said, it's actually maybe even in many cases more plausible for a guy who's below a 6 to pull a 10 because the 10s don't get hit on as much. They don't get hit on as much. And the type of attention they might get is guys with really bad game, guys who are just kind of stupidly socially awkward, and they throw out like, oh, you're so beautiful, or just throw out some dumbass shit. If you've ever been in like a doctor's office or like a place of business and you hear some guy throwing out some really shitty game in a woman, like, first of all, you probably shouldn't hit on women at their place of work. You probably shouldn't hit on women in a scenario where they are, you're in a little room and everybody's can hear you. Like, it's not the best place because it's awkward, and even women think it's awkward. Like, hey, don't hit on me at my work. I'm working here. Don't hit on me. Like, they might give you little IOIs and you might give them little IOIs, but you should probably leave it there. It's a weird thing to hit on women at their work. I always thought that. Do it on the street, or do it in a social circle, or do it in a club, or do it at a bar or dance hall, whatever. But yeah. So this is why, if a guy has real bad game and he's if you can overhear it, like, a lot of times the 10s don't get guys who have good game. Like, not a lot of guys have good game. Not a lot of guys really, have good game, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of studying. A lot of guys aren't willing to do that, or they just don't have the time, or whatever. Or really, they're just afraid. A lot of guys are afraid to do the work, put in the work, and get better. And particularly when they're not even above a 7, they think, oh, what's the point? I'm not even above a 7. These black pill kind of minded guys, I'm not even above a 7. Well, truth be told, if you're below a 7, you can still pull a 10. You just have to hit her at the right time. She's got to be single, ready. You got to say the right things. It's difficult, but it's not impossible, right? But anyway, I think you guys get the point. I'm going to leave it there. Appreciate you listening. Jay Lee Northwest Podcast. Peace.